What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to another variety build. Now, we haven't done a variety build on the channel in a long time. The last one we did was the getaway from me and my son way back when. That is up in the iCard above for you. That was a Cleric Blood Hunter build back when we were doing those. And then I also did the Coffee Lock as well. That's also up in the iCard above for you. But I'm just wanting to get back into these. I really enjoy doing my How Do I Want to Do This series, but at the same time, it's nice to branch out and to do something else and to be able to do what you all actually want me to do in the comments section or by my gold members, which we'll come back to. Before we jump into this awesome build, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, most people who watch the channel are not subscribed, so please don't be one of those people. Help us to reach our goal of 5,000 by the end of this year, and I think we can do it. But I need your help. Of course, great ways to support the channel would be to click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded, share the video with your friends, and of course, the best way to do that, of course, is through memberships. Memberships, of course, are down below when you press that join button, and there are 3 tiers. The silver tier, of course, gives you access to all of my write-ups, including today's, which gives you a step-by-step guide and kind of explanation to go along with the videos. And so those are really great to take advantage of. Even if they are not within my How Do I Want to Do This series, the variety builds will still be posted there for you as well. So make sure to check that out. If you go above that, then you are actually going to get a shout out every time that I do a build video. So today, of course, here are silver and above members. Thank you, of course, for your help in supporting the channel. I really appreciate you. And then gold tier is where we're kind of looking at for stuff like today. People in the gold tier will, of course, get priority picks on what I do in my variety builds. So if you really want something to go up there, and if you really want some ideas to end up on the channel, that is the way for you to do that as well. So please, I would ask you to consider doing that. It really helps me out in creating these videos and doing what it is that I do. So as always, thank you so much. So what is today's build? Let's talk about what we're trying to do today. I haven't looked at the Armorer in a very long time, and I got a ton of comments on my Armorer video asking me, you did the Guardian on this one, when are you gonna do Infiltrator? You did Guardian, where's Infiltrator? They're everywhere. And so today I'm going back and doing an Infiltrator based build. And I felt like it was best to do it in this format just because I may not take the most levels in Armorer. We'll just have to see. We're going to take quite a few levels elsewhere in order to make this work, but my stipulation for this was to make sure I have a build around the Infiltrator model of the Armorer subclass of Artificer. So I'm excited to finally show you what it is that I've been cooking up for this other option in that subclass. It's a very versatile subclass. I really like talking about it, and so yeah, I'm really happy that I get to build yet another one. Without any further ado, let's jump in. Starting off, as always, we're going to be looking at our race, and I don't think Custom Lineage or Variant Human are the call this week. I think it'd just be better off me going with something flavorful and something honestly more powerful. There are feats that I want for this build, but honestly, I need a different race in order for it to work the way that I want to. And so we're going to go with a different race entirely, which is great. Today, we're going to go with the Half Elf. I haven't done one of these in a little while. I really do like this race, though. It's really strong. Just, it is Elven, so you know, we get all the amazing things that come with being an elf, but we also get some amazing stat boosts that come with kind of being a human, which is really great. So we do get a +2 and 2 +1s out of this, which is really nice. No other race can do that, which is really good. Of course, we have some that can do 2 +2s, but I mean, this is great, especially on a point buy system, especially on a standard array, anything like that. This is going to be really helpful. And so I really like this race for that. As far as the sub race goes, honestly, it's not all that important. We're not going to be really basing our build on any particular sub race. So really pick your favorite. If you go with the High Elf for the cantrip, I probably would go with either Lightning Lure or Mind Sliver. Lightning Lure is of course more for the flavor. Mind Sliver is good because, of course, we're targeting an intelligence save, and we basically get like a little bit of a Bane light, which is nice. So either way, I like it. Either way, that's fine. But I mean, drow works just fine. You could also go with the wood elf for increased move speed. Any of that's fine, and you can just kind of do what you want. But either way, you're going to be fine with any of those. For our stats, of course, we're going to be using our modified standard array as always. If you are using a point buy system, if you're using standard array, if you're using rolled stats or some other system, then your stats will look different than mine, and that's totally fine. You can, of course, just adjust what you have based on what I have prioritized. And so for priorities, we're going to start with our intelligence in our top slot. We're going to have dexterity in our second slot and constitution in our third slot. Pretty standard. I don't think any of this is shocking to anyone. And then wisdom will come next. Not that we need it, but of course, wisdom saving throws are somewhat common. So we don't want a negative modifier to that if we can help it. And then charisma and strength really doesn't matter. We're not going to be using either of those for anything functionally. So it's really up to you what you do with those. And of course, our +2 is going to go in our intelligence, and the 2 +1s are going in dex and constitution. For our equipment, for now, I'm going to take a heavy crossbow. It's probably going to be the best weapon that we can take for now. We will eventually throw it in the trash, but that is once we get some features from our armor, but that's a little far down the road. So this will get you through for now, and we'll be all right. We also can take something like a shield if you want a shield. Of course, we can't use it right now, but later on, then we absolutely can once we have a free hand, and we'll get to that point. And then as far as armor goes, I would probably take some chainmail. Of course, heavy armor is going to not be an issue once we get to third level of Artificer, so we're gonna be just fine as far as that goes. So it's really personal preference on that. But yeah, let's start taking some levels here. At level 1, we are going to not start Artificer, and I know I do this all the time, but starting Fighter is just better. Now, I will say the Artificer is not necessarily bad, and if you wanted to start Artificer, I wouldn't blame you for doing that, but I want to go ahead and pick up the archery fighting style here as our fighting style. The reason is because we have a middling dexterity at best, and we're having to use our heavy crossbow for now. So this helps with that. It also will work with our eventual lightning launchers that we will get with being an infiltrator. And so for all of those reasons, the archery fighting style just helps us out entirely. And it's one of the strongest ones out there, let's be real. So I want to have it if I possibly can. We also get second wind, which is a nice little bonus action heal. We're not taking a ton of levels in fighter, so it's not going to scale all that great, but it's an option if you need a little quick heal. We then move on to level 2, and I'm going to go ahead and start taking Artificer levels now. Yes, action surge is right there, but I don't think that we have enough of a foundation set yet to where I can comfortably continue in fighter. If you want to take action surge, that's great. That's more power to you. But I think that it would be better if we go ahead and get our spells online, go ahead and get our armor upgraded as soon as possible. And all of that needs to happen within the Artificer kit. So let's go ahead and jump there. At Artificer 1, we're of course going to get magical tinkering, and again, magical tinkering is one of those that I just don't see an amazing amount of value out of it, but I want to know in the comments, let me know what is the best use of this feature that you have ever seen at your table. I personally don't see it. I've never seen anything that's been crazy, blow my mind out of this feature, but I'm sure somebody out there has a story, and I would love to hear that story, or read it, I guess, down in the comments below. So hit me up down there, show me what you got. I'm excited to hear about those. Then, of course, we also get spell casting, and spell casting is one of the main reasons we're here, minus infusions, which we'll get next level. But for this, there are a couple of cantrips that I would definitely recommend. Mending is going to be one that I would actually take on this. And I know that's strange. Normally mending is going to be better on an artillerist or even a battlesmith, just to be able to heal those things that you're, bringing around with you. With this one, we are going to be doing that kind of, just not with something that comes from our subclass. And so you'll see here in just a second. And I will say with this build, we're kind of setting up a long con where really late down the road, we're going to really pay this off, but it's going to take a while to get there. So this definitely is a build that gets better and better the later level you are. And so but it takes a little while to get off the ground. As for other cantrips, Firebolt's probably your best option for now. I mean, it's just a really good, reliable cantrip. Does really good damage for cantrips and has a really good range. You really can't go wrong with that one. For first level spells, of course, there are a ton of great options on the Artificer list. The main ones that I would take are Cure Wounds and Fairy Fire. Cure Wounds, of course, can be delivered by something that we are going to get next level. And Fairy Fire is huge for giving ourselves advantage. We are going to want to get advantage as soon as we possibly can on any and all of our attacks because, of course, that's super helpful. And we're kind of working towards that as well. I'm sure you know where we're going with this, but Fairy Fire is great. Definitely want to take at least those 2 spells. And then beyond that, pick your favorites, whatever you're feeling. At level 2, we get infused items. So we're now level 3, Artificer 2, and we can now do what it is that artificers do best, and that is create awesome magic items out of things that weren't magical before, which is fantastic. For our infusions, of course, we get 4 of them for right now, but we can only have 2 of them active, and this will scale as we level. But with this, I'm going to take Repeating Shot for now. Repeating Shot is really great. It's just better, in my opinion, than Enhanced Weapon for a crossbow anyway, just because now you don't have to keep track of your ammunition. Once you get past level 10, of course, then you would probably want to switch those just because it becomes a +2. But for now, you no longer have to worry about ammo, which is great. So that's good. You have a +1 weapon and you don't have to worry about ammo. Really nice. The other is going to be the Homunculus Servant. And the Homunculus Servant is a often underrated thing that I honestly think is really cool. My wife, of course, played an Artificer, an Artillerist, in our Curse of Strahd campaign, and I think she had a great time, and she used the Homunculus Servant all the time, and it's really, really good. You don't have a ton of other stuff to do on your bonus action currently. You may second wind once in a while, but I mean, that's about it. And so you've got that free to do whatever you want with this, including deliver things like Cure Wounds or other touch-based spells, which is really handy, honestly. I would much rather this go down than me have to be up in their face necessarily, so that's nice. And as far as other ones to keep in the back, I would keep Enhanced Weapon in the back as one that you don't prep, but you have waiting. You'll see why here in a little bit, but for now, I would just keep that in the back for you. At Artificer 3, we will be level 4, and this is where we kind of just gain a ton of features at once because our armor comes with a bunch of stuff. We get class features, we get subclass features, we get so much here at level 4. But we get Right Tool for the Job, which is fine, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of tools in D&D, and so it is nice having the versatility, but at the same time, what it's giving me versatility in is not that great, and so whatever. We also get tools of the trade now that we are looking at our subclass here, and so we now have heavy armor proficiency, which we already had, and some tools and that kind of thing. Again, it's whatever, but you know, it comes with it, and that's totally fine. It's a flavor piece to be able to fix up our armor if it gets damaged and that sort of thing. Then we get to actually look at our arcane armor, and so this gives us some really, really good benefits for having our armor that is now magically enhanced as our armorer feature. So we get a few things here. Number 1, we can actually take it off and put it on as an action, which is a huge thing, especially if you get targeted by heat metal or something like that. You can actually get rid of it. However, no one else can get rid of it. It is now basically tied to you unless you take it off, which is really, really handy. We can use it as a spellcasting focus, which is really handy. And we also can ignore any kind of strength requirement. We dump strength and we don't need strength on this. And so I'm looking to completely dump it. So this makes it to where we can wear any type of armor, even if there is a strength requirement, and just ignore it, which is really helpful, honestly, for this. You know, artificers are smart. They're not necessarily strong. And so this lets us get all the way around that, which is really great. We also then get to choose our model. And so, like I said, last time we looked at the Guardian and built a really cool build around that. This time around, we're going to go with the Infiltrator. Now, this can be switched out pretty often, actually. At the end of a rest, you can swap out which one you have, which is super helpful for your versatility. That's why this got some really high marks in how do I want to do this, just because the versatility that you have with this is just unmatched. Being able to completely change your playstyle just over the course of a short rest is huge. But the Infiltrator gives us some really awesome benefits here. Number one, we get a new weapon, and that is the lightning launcher. The lightning launcher gives us a ranged attack with a short range of 90 feet and a long range of 300 feet, which is really good. That is really far. However, the damage is a little disappointing. We get a 1d6 damage unless it is the first hit of the turn in which it is, and there is an additional d6 added on. The damage isn't great, but the range is nice. And so, of course, if you're being sneaky, you could hit somebody from a long way away and deal all of, 2 or 3 damage. And so that's great. Obviously, you would add modifiers and stuff. But yeah, it's a little disappointing. For now. We will, of course, make this better as we go, so don't worry. We will find ways to improve it. But for now, the damage is just a little middling at best. We also get powered steps, so our move speed is going to increase, which is great. And we get dampening field, which allows us to actually have advantage on any kind of stealth check. So if you are already getting disadvantage from your armor, then it's neutral. If you do not have disadvantage from your armor, then it's actually just advantage, which is really cool to just have all the time. And that really helps out people who really like heavy armor, where you no longer have to worry about clanking around all the time and just making everybody mad. So that's also really nice. At this point, though, I would probably drop repeating shot now and move enhanced weapon to the armor. We're going to be using the lightning launcher more than anything, even with the damage being what it is, just because we can use intelligence to actually make this attack. So we no longer really have to worry about dexterity as much, but it's still nice to have initiative, to have all kinds of other things that are tied to dexterity. It is basically the best stat in the game, and so having a good dex is still going to be really helpful for us. At level 5, we are going to be an Artificer 4, and so we get our first ASI or feat. You already know where I'm going with this. We're taking Elven Accuracy. This, of course, is going to give us a +1 to our intelligence, because we are going to be making our attacks with intelligence from our lightning launchers. And of course, it's going to max it out for us. If you're using a different point system, you may be in an 18 now, but still, that's still really nice. And so that's really great. With this, of course, when we roll at advantage, we can roll a third die and take the highest of any of those 3, which is really good. This is one of the best feats in the game, in my opinion. Just it being race locked is tough, but the thing is, elves are already a really good race, so the fact that they have a really busted feat that goes along with them, I welcome that, absolutely. And the thing is, we can easily get advantage with Fairy Fire because we already have access to that. So combining those two is going to be really helpful. So we can, of course, fire off Fairy Fire, they fail that save, and then we can fire off some lightning launcher attacks, which is really helpful. I really like that. Again, our damage isn't the best, but it's gonna get better. Trust me. Don't worry. It'll happen. Then, of course, at level 6, Artificer 5, we get extra attack, which is great. So now we can fire twice. Of course, the first attack is going to get the extra damage. The second attack is not, but still we can attack more than once and hit with that lightning launcher both times. That feels really good. So we're doing okay so far. Our damage isn't the best, but we also get second level spells at this point, and we're starting to open up what it is that we can do. And we're gonna look at even more options as we go on. So at second level spells, we of course get things like Aid, Invisibility, Heat Metal, and Large Reduce. Any of those are going to be really nice. Of course, there are some other great options on your list, but those are kind of the top 4 for me. So definitely consider taking those when you go out on your next adventuring day. So now that we have that locked up, and we have extra attack, we have second level spells, we have lightning launchers going, we are starting to kind of look around and see if there's any way to deal a little bit of extra damage. And honestly, the easiest way to do that is to go ahead and take a level of Rogue. I'm going to go ahead and take 1 level of Rogue now, just so that I have sneak attack, because of course sneak attack works on a ranged attack, and that is what this is, so it qualifies. And you can of course give yourself advantage with Fairy Fire. So it shouldn't be terribly difficult to get these attacks off with advantage, to make sure that you hit and crit more often, which is also a really big advantage here. But either way, grabbing 1 level of Rogue here is really nice. So of course we get expertise here, which is also pretty cool. I would probably take something like stealth or perception. Either of those are going to be really, really good, but there's not anything particular that's tied to this build that you need. Of course, sneak attack and thieves' cant also come along with that. Do I want to keep going in Rogue? It's tough because cunning action is really good, but at the same time, I don't think that I need to do that just yet. I do want to take that and then kind of run and go with some more Artificer levels now. So yeah, we just take 1 and we're out, and we'll come back later. It'll be fine. So at Artificer 6, we of course get tool expertise, which again, gets tied to tools. Tools aren't that great, but whatever. But we do get an extra infusion level unlocked here. So there are a lot of infusions locked behind level 6 and then some later levels as well. So now that we have access to more of them, I would actually probably switch out your enhanced weapon for radiant weapon for now, just because of the awesome blinding effect. By the way, there is no range on this. So yeah, radiant weapon just has an unlimited range, which is really good. And being able to blind somebody is again really great, because that is again advantage for you if they are blinded, can't see you attacking them. So yeah, it all works out. It all works out. So definitely take radiant weapon for now. It's going to be way better than what you had before. And of course, keep enhanced weapon in the back. We will eventually get back to it because it'll eventually be better. Then at Artificer 7, we get Flash of Genius, which is one of the best Artificer features out there, being able to add your intelligence modifier to other people's checks, and it's just really, really, really good. Of course, you can do that intelligence bonus times per day, so that's 5 times that you can add 5 to checks, which is really, really good. Yeah, there's no other feature that is really that consistent to me. And just at the cost of your reaction, absolutely, I will absolutely take that. At Artificer 8, we of course get another ASI or feat, and yes, it would probably be better to bump some stats, but we got to take Sharpshooter, right? If we're going for increasing our damage and doing things like that, we've got to, right? Sharpshooter, of course, gives us the option to take a -5 to hit and, of course, add 10 to our damage, amongst some other things. It also gives us that extended range without any kind of disadvantage, and we get to ignore cover as long as it's not full cover, which is, again, really, really great. So for all of those reasons, Sharpshooter is just super helpful, and I really can't turn that down. It's just too good. It's too good. Then at Artificer 9, we get our armor modifications that come on our actual armor now. So now our armor counts as separate pieces that we can infuse separately. And we get 2 additional infusions that we can actually use, but they have to be used on our armor, which honestly is fine. I don't care. So you have like the helm, you have gauntlets, you have the chest plate, you have boots, you have things like that you can split it up amongst. And that gives you some really good versatility. For what I would take here, I would probably take a Mind Sharpener just to make sure that you're not dropping any kind of concentration by casting your Fairy Fire. Of course, that can be an issue. Our Constitution's not the worst, and we do have proficiency, but anything helps. And so taking the Mind Sharpener is definitely going to be great. The other one, I would probably take the Spell Refueling Ring just to get some spell slots back. There are a few other options that are decent, but making sure that I have more spell slots throughout the day is going to be great, especially if I need to get back a Homunculus Servant, and I've already made one today. That can be great. So I would probably take that, but you could, of course, swap that out if you wanted to. Then we also get 3rd level spells. So it's a really good level for us. And the 2 that I would take are Revivify and haste. Revivify, of course, is just something you always want on lock. At least somebody needs it on your party. But haste is the big one, right? Haste is going to give us an extra attack. It is going to give us a bonus to AC. It's going to give us all of these amazing benefits, which are just huge. And so the only thing about that, though, is that we would have to switch out with Fairy Fire, which kind of sucks, right? So we gotta think about how we can try to use both of them at the same time, but there's not really a great way to do that at the moment, right? We'll see. We'll come back to it in just a couple levels, don't worry. At Artificer 10, we get Magic Item Adept, which is really cool. I really like that this is a thing in D&D for Artificers. It just feels good for them to be able to have these additional versatilities in doing what they can with magic items, so I think that's great. Now that we've reached level 10, we have also unlocked a new level in Artificer Infusions. And so I want to do a couple of switches here. I would probably switch back to Enhanced Weapon at this point, just because it is now a +2 bonus rather than only a +1 bonus from doing Radiant Weapon or any of the others. And so I would probably do that. If you want to keep Radiant Weapon, that's fine. It would still give you that blindness effect, which is still very valuable. But honestly, I think Enhanced Weapon is probably going to be better for that +2 bonus rather than the +1. And you could also consider Enhanced Defense here because it is a +2 to AC. I'm not as keen on taking it just because our AC is going to be okay and we can kind of get around it, so it'll be fine. But either way, I think that that's going to be just fine to take Enhanced Weapon. And also for your new infusions of things that you can make, I would probably make a Cloak of Protection or a Helm of Awareness. Either way, probably Cloak of Protection is probably going to be better, at least for boosting your AC and that kind of thing. I would probably take that over a regular infusion, but you could technically do both if you wanted to. So that's really up to you, but it's cool. It's cool either way. Okay, Artificer 11. We are finally here. It has been a long time. This is kind of the pinnacle of what we are going to be doing as an Artificer, and the rest of this is kind of just gravy. And so we're just going to have to see what we got here. We get Spell Storing Item, and this is one of the coolest and low-key broken things that Artificers get. Of course, it's really late level, so I understand why, but what is it? Spell Storing Item allows you to take a spell and put it in an item, just like the name suggests, so that's pretty obvious. However, there are some restrictions and things like that. But here's the thing. You can give this item to somebody else who can then cast the spell using that person's concentration, but all of your spellcasting abilities. So how can we make the best use of this feature? Well, we have had a homunculus servant that has been chilling with us for a really long time, and just waiting on the day that it can be much more effective for its proud owner. And so today is that day. We are going to store our Fairy Fire in the spell storing ring, or whatever item you want, and give that to our essentially familiar, our homunculus servant. The familiar/servant can now cast that spell using our spellcasting modifier a number of times equal to twice our intelligence modifier. So we get 10 castings of Fairy Fire, which is huge. And we don't even have to prep the spell. We can just put it in that item and not even prep that spell for that day, and we're good, which is amazing. Just awesome versatility again with this feature. And so now we have the ability to cast haste on ourselves, not drop concentration on it because of our mind sharpener, so we don't have to worry about, losing concentration and just being in that state at the end, which is amazing. And we still get the benefits of the advantage from the Fairy Fire coming from our normal stats. So for all of those reasons, we have now kind of blown this open to where we are a one-person killing machine, and we can do things that are really, really fun and really, really awesome. So now that we have reached this, I think it's time that we leave Artificer and look elsewhere for more power. And honestly, I think for now, looking at Rogue is probably going to be our best option. So continuing on, we're going to get Rogue 2, and this is going to give us Cunning Action. Cunning Action, of course, gives you a free dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action, which really opens up our options. Of course, most of the time, we're probably going to be using our bonus action to command our homunculus servant, or do one of other very few things, but this still gives you that versatility to be able to get in, get out, and do kind of whatever you need to as far as maneuverability on the battlefield, which is really good. Then at level 3 in Rogue, we get our subclass. Now, there are a few subclasses that would work here, and there's probably one more flavorful than this, but mechanically speaking, I want to go with the Arcane Trickster. The Arcane Trickster, of course, has a limited spellcasting type of ability, and it gives us access to wizard spells, which are really, really good. It's all tied to our intelligence anyway, so we don't have to worry about being mad on this build. It's all tied to 1, so that feels really good too. And so we get Mage Hand Legerdemain, which gives us some really, really good features to go with our Mage Hand, but more so we have some really cool spells here as well that we have access to. So for our spells, of course, we'll start with cantrips. We get Mage Hand for free, and then honestly, I would probably take either Mindsliver or Lightning Lure. If you took High Elf, then just take the opposite of what you took at the beginning. If you did not, then you could take one or the other. Either one's fine. And then I would probably take Shocking Grasp. Shocking Grasp is really, really nice, especially with having a homunculus servant, because it can actually deliver any kind of spells with a range of touch. We've been using it to cast Cure Wounds, but now we can do this in order to get out of jail free for us or our friends. It just delivers that and no more reactions. So that's also really helpful. So definitely consider using that. For first level spells, Silvery Barbs, right? We're limited in what schools of magic we can actually pick from as an Arcane Trickster Rogue, and this is in the enchantment school. It is one of the ones that we can take. It's either this or Illusion, and I think this is better. So I'm going to take Silvery Barbs, and I'm going to take Tasha's Hideous Laughter, another enchantment spell. That is, of course, a great way to knock enemies prone and make them incapacitated when you tell a really bad joke. But that feels really, really good for your melee-focused friends. They're going to have a field day going for that. Then we have, of course, the Shield spell. Shield is going to be one of the best spells that you could possibly take. It's, of course, our one spell allowed outside of those restrictions. And so it's just the best option we can have as a really good protection type of thing. And it really fits with what we're trying to do as well. So for all those reasons, really, really nice. So now that we've locked that up, I think it's time to actually get Action Surge. So we now finally get back to Action Surge. After all this time, we finally get the ability to take 2 actions in 1 turn, which is really, really helpful. It only took forever, but it feels nice to finally get this and continue in our martial training. Then I'm going to keep going, actually, in Fighter and pick up a subclass here. And honestly, there's really only one option here. Let's be real. It's the Battlemaster. The Battlemaster, of course, gives us some awesome maneuvers in the form of combat superiority. So we get some dice that we can use to fuel certain features. And now here's the thing. This is also a great reason why we wanted our dexterity to not be terrible, because our actual saving throw DC is going to be based on either dexterity or strength. And so I want to use dexterity, of course, on this build. But I think it might be interesting taking some lesser used type of these that might have a unique spin on this type of a build. I would take Ambush, honestly, for that bonus to your initiative. Honestly, I think that's really, really helpful, and it just allows you to be that much higher up in the initiative count, get down what you need to get down before you have all the enemies clustered up on your friends. You can lay down that Fairy Fire, and then that way you can also get ready to absolutely go nuts on somebody. I just think it's better having that early initiative count so that you can get that Fairy Fire laid down. You can go ahead and get haste on yourself ready to go, and then you're ready for round 2. Everybody's out there being shiny, and then you can just go shoot them with all of your lightning launchers. So For all that, I think ambush is one of your best options here, actually. Maneuvering attack is also fine as kind of a get away from my friends option. And then trip attack is kind of similar to Artasha's Hideous Laughter. But it could be nice, again, if somebody is engaged with a friend of yours who is melee focused. You can, of course, shoot this at them. You have sneak attack because there is a friend within 5 feet, and then knock them prone. And then whenever your friend goes to attack, advantage. So for all that, I think that really sets up some really, really nice teamwork and team play there. And so definitely take advantage of that. Okay, last 3 levels. I wanted to do something stupid for these last 3 levels. I'm just going to be honest with you. I want to do something dumb. So these last 3 levels are going to be ASIs. So Fighter 4, Artificer 12, and Rogue 4. So we're just going to take +2 to con all 3 of those levels because I want to max out our Constitution as much as we can. If you wanted to take Dexterity, you could. That's totally fine. But honestly, I would probably rather take Constitution in all 3 of those. And so you'll have a maxed out Constitution by the end of the campaign, which is still pretty cool. So that is my take on the Infiltrator Artificer. Of course, this is a little bit of a longer build than usual, but there's just a lot going on, and it's all really, really cool. Artificers, they may not be the strongest characters out there. There may be stronger options, but they're still a lot of fun, and this build is absolutely no exception. Let's jump into our honorable mentions really quick before we go. And honestly, I think one of your better options is going to be going with something like Fey Touched on a custom lineage build. Fey Touched, of course, gives you a bonus at level 1 to your actual spellcasting modifier. And of course, it gives you things like Misty Step, and you could have picked up something like Silvery Barbs as well at level 1. And so that could have been really helpful. Definitely a valid option. But again, I wanted to go with the ability to have that Elven accuracy. I will say that I do feel that going that other route would probably be more effective at lower level. But as you get higher and higher level, it is going to be surpassed by this build just flat out. I think that this is going to take over entirely once you get into the later levels. As far as other Elven options, I would probably look at the Shatterkai or the Eladrin. Either of those are going to give you access to some teleportation type things, and that's never a bad thing as far as getting yourself out of trouble. We're an infiltrator, right? We need to be able to get out of trouble, and this gives you that option. So definitely something to consider for another race option. For feats, of course, we already mentioned Fey Touched, but if you wanted to go with something interesting, you could actually go with Crossbow Expert. Crossbow Expert is interesting here because you could technically hold another hand crossbow in your hand if you wanted to, and fire 2 weapons in the same go. There's not a huge advantage to doing that, but if you get like a magical kind of thing, or there are definitely cases to be made for having this kind of a build, and just having all those advantages is actually not that bad. So yeah, I like that. Now here's one that I normally would never recommend, but the Actor Feat. The Actor Feat actually is not terrible here because you're going to put yourself in some bad situations and you're going to have to talk your way out of them, and you don't have a good charisma. So Actor is actually not that bad. So definitely consider taking that one as a flavor pick. And finally, of course, as always, the Tough Feat. Just having more hit points is always going to be a good thing, so the Tough Feat is never a bad option. Finally, for other multi-classing options, of course, I'm just going to look at some other subclasses that we could have taken. So for Fighter, the Eldritch Knight is not bad. It's interesting that with the 3 levels of Rogue that we have here, our spell slot progression actually did not change, just because we are a half caster adding with a 1/3 caster. And so we actually didn't change anything about our spell slots by doing one or the other. So it is what it is, but that's a little unfortunate. But Eldritch Knight, of course, is kind of along those same lines, and it gives you intelligence-based spell casting. There's some really cool stuff that goes on with it as well that could have definitely helped out with this build, and I definitely don't hate that option. But it is redundant with the Arcane Trickster because it is the same spell list that you're looking at, and so I don't know that they should both go on the same build. You could maybe swap that out and then go with a different rogue option, which if you went with a different rogue option, I probably would honestly go with the assassin. It kind of fits with the theme of what we're going with in this kind of a build. And it's fun, right? You have a 300-foot range with your lightning launcher, for crying out loud, right? Plus sharpshooter, plus the archery fighting style. You have all that stuff. You might as well take a crit, right? And so that's going to feel really, really good when that goes off as well. So what do you think of this build? Let me know down below. I really like this build, actually. I think it's a lot of fun. Gives you a lot of really cool versatility that you can do. And it's just awesome. I think it's just a lot of fun to do stuff like this. Of course, if you have a suggestion for any kind of future variety builds, I would love to see those down in the comments below. I do, of course, read every single comment. And of course, if you join the channel at the gold level, your suggestion is going straight to the top, and you get access to a specific portion of the Discord server, which is reserved just for you all. So that is also another great perk. Until next time, I hope you guys stay safe out there, stay healthy, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.